We will begin working on an impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall.
Oddly enough, so is Canada. That thing's going to be impervious. The president is not backing down from his campaign promise to build that wall. But with Mexico not exactly cooperating with the payment, the president is thinking of alternative means to help offset the costs. His latest proposal is placing solar panels on the wall. But would that really work? Joining me now is Brenberg, Associate Professor of Economics at the King's College. This is Bryanomics. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
Always good to have you. And with the wall, I just want to say knock it off. But we don't have to do that quite yet. You make a really good point, which is we should pay for the wall if it's something we really need instead of having a solar bake sale.
Well, do you want your government to find creative ways to pay for all the things that it does, or do you want it to be transparent and say, here are our priorities, here's the reason we want to do them, and here's how we're going to do it? I don't like the idea of solar panels on the wall because I think the government should have to go to the American people and say, we think this should be a priority, and here are the reasons. It's the best way possible to ensure national security, and so we want you to pay for it because it benefits you. When you start doing things like solar panels on a wall, it's a workaround. It has the feel of being gimmicky. And by the way, then it goes against the initial promise of this whole thing, which is we're not going to pay for it. So I think plain vanilla is actually the way government should go when it comes to funding what they do.
That's a really good point. That's absolutely a great point.
It's good for transparency.
If we don't have enough money for all this stuff, then we need to cut some of the stuff out of the budget. That is completely fair. To whom are we going to sell $90 billion worth of solar energy?
Well, I don't understand exactly. Look, solar energy is still not even really a proven resource for energy production. Right? We have problems there. So we have it where we can't even ask it really to do that necessarily. And now we're saying, oh, by the way, we also want it to double as a border security wall. How in the world is that going to work? You're talking about, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of this wall over crazy terrain. You're going to set up solar panels to do this. Nobody's come out from an engineering perspective and said this is how it's going to work. It's one of those ideas that's thrown around, and I think you have to go back to basics here and say, what are we talking about? We're talking about a border wall. Why are we talking about it? Because it's going to help make us safer. Okay, fine. What's the best way to do that? Is it really a wall? Is it something else? We're just getting lost in all of these details, and we're losing sight of the principles here, and I'd like to see us get back to the principles.
Yeah, absolutely. And the basic question is, what is the function of government? Does this fall under government's trustee umbrella, which isn't so trusty when you're coming up with what you call a gimmick? And why not just slap a roller coaster on top of it?
Well,
wouldn't you pay $5 to ride that?
Maybe the government should start a railroad, and they can force every company that sends products back and forth across Mexico to use their railroad. I mean, we don't want them to get into these businesses. That's not the function of government. We started with a solution and then went searching for the problem here. If you identify the problem, look at the full range of solutions. That's how you really deal with something like this.
Well, and
we're getting locked into bad solutions as a result here.
Speaking of bad solutions and bad investments, look at the Solyndra debacle. That's one of the black eyes on the Obama presidency, is investment in a solar company that completely went bust, and now Republicans are in love with the idea of solar?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the first word that came to my mind, and I hate to throw that word around all the time, but why are we talking about solar panels? Have we forgotten about the fact that these things can't stand on their own two legs in most markets, and now we're talking about using them to build one of the most complex pieces of security in the world? I don't think so. I think that's a ballooning cost. I think it's the likelihood of a failed process here, and we don't need to go there.
No, we don't need to repeat the failures of solar over and over again. If individuals want to have solar panels on their house and sell it back to cartels, utility cartels, I'm fine with that. Have at it. Lower your overhead. That's great. But again, not the function of government, not in this case at least. We'll see if the wall gets built. He's having such pushback from both parties that I'm not optimistic. But I always love your expertise and insight. Brenberg.
Good to be here.
Bryanomics, making you mentally wealthier.